What's up, wrestling fans? It's Devin Rucker.
It's Spooky.
And we are your dudes talking wrestling. Spook, we've had a good run so far.
We've had a good run.
It's been a great season 1. Someone who's been a faithful member to the DTW family since day one.
Day ones.
Let's talk about, how'd you meet this guy?
I met him through a bunch of local cats, the All Yeah Records podcast.
Love it.
2-6 producer. So he's just locally known on the music scene. Lil Siren.
We're going to talk about one of my favorite WrestleManias. This WrestleMania was jam-packed, but we're not going to talk about it. I'm going to have to tag you out. Siren, you're in. Siren, welcome to the Dudes Talking Wrestling podcast. I got a few questions to jump off with.
All right, for sure. Let's hear them.
What made you want to start watching wrestling?
I had family that were big into it. Like, I had older cousins that always would watch it, and I remember my cousin had a big ass, like, one of those stand-up cutouts of John Cena.
Yep.
So I always knew about it, but I just remember flipping through channels one day, and it was Monday Night Raw, and it was the lead up to WrestleMania 24, and it was, I don't think it was a contract signing, but I remember it was like some type of press about Orton, Triple H, Cena for the WWE Championship, and I don't know why, just right then was hooked.
It drawed you right in, and
Yeah.
you said, yep, this is for me. So
Yeah.
let's talk about WrestleMania 24. They started the night off.
It's probably number one for me, if I'm being honest. It's up there.
I mean, there was some great matches all through it, but like I said, starting off, they had Finley taking on JBL, the hardcore match, and you know our good friend Hornswoggle, who was actually at an IWR
Shout out
match.
Hornswoggle. I'm a big fan.
He was at the IWR. We were talking
Oh,
about
really?
before the show. So
Oh,
they've
wow.
had Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
He'll be back at another promotion in July. But started the night off. You saw some high flying from Finley. That was nice. It was cool to see JBL in the hardcore match.
Yeah.
What were some of your thoughts of that one?
I remember the build up to that just being like, ugh, JBL, this horrible, horrible guy, like just beating up on poor Hornswoggle and stuff. So I wanted to see Finley knock his head off, but not how it happened.
No.
But it was a great match. I've gone back and watched it somewhat recently. It's actually really stiff. It's a good hardcore match, and it's two guys that are like infamous for being very brute and very stiff in the ring. So it's a fun match to watch.
And I'll say he even got a little loose. I'm talking about Finley. I think one of my favorite moves of that night was him jumping through the ropes just to get smacked in the face.
Oh, yeah.
with
That might have been the
trash
spot of the
can
match.
lid.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
Of course, Hornswoggle had to get in the match a little bit and help out Papa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was, like you said, JBL got the better of the two. But all around, great match. Excellent way to start off.
Kickoff Mania, yeah, definitely.
100%. I'm going to jump into what I could think arguably was the best match of the night, talking about the Money in the Bank ladder match.
I personally, and I mean, you might disagree, I don't know, but I think that's the best Money in the Bank, in my opinion.
I mean, let's just talk about let's go back and forth with who was even in the match. I'll start off. We had Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, MVP.
Carlito.
Chris Jericho.
We had John Morrison.
Yeah, and he did that crazy backflip
I mean,
with the ladder.
yes.
Yeah.
To say that least. I'm going to check my notes right here to make sure we didn't miss anybody.
There's a couple more guys.
Mr.
Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy, and of
Yeah.
course,
CM Punk.
CM Punk.
Yeah.
Now, before we dive into the match, there was supposed to be another person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're talking about Jeff Hardy.
Oh, man.
He got suspended for the alcohol and drug policy there in the WWE.
Yeah.
We know he's been in a long battle with that. So, Jeff, we wish you nothing but the best, brother. Going back to WrestleMania 24,
Yeah.
still that card or that match was stacked.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these guys were not in their prime yet, but they were getting there.
Yeah. They just made magic that night. It worked. All those guys together worked. It was a great match.
All around, Shelton Benjamin put on an absolute performance.
Always.
Seeing Carlito, I spit in the face.
Always good.
Did phenomenal.
Yeah.
How did you think that match was going to play out?
I remember the build. I remember Jeff being confirmed for it. And I was excited because playing old SmackDown versus Raw games, Jeff became my favorite, like, quick.
Without a doubt.
Quick. Like, even before I had seen him, like, on TV, he was one of my favorites. Just playing as him on the game and stuff. So when he got cut, and I remember him losing the IC belt to Jericho and stuff like that, it was just heartbreaking. But we had another Hardy Boy in that match, made an appearance.
I was gonna say Matt Hardy did make an appearance, probably in honor of his brother. Right?
Yeah, it could have been, and it was cool. It was like, oh, holy crap, it's Matt Hardy, coming out and taking out MVP. And I remember the I believe it was Carlito, and it could have been he was either Jericho or MVP flipping Benjamin off and over the rope and onto the ladder.
I think you're right.
I know for sure it was Carlito because I remember his face.
Yep.
I remember the face, and I thought the ending was perfect. Jericho getting pulled through by Punk, and Punk going up and winning it.
And even let's not forget, like you said, Anderson was in there. Spooky and I got to see him at another promotion as Kennedy.
I actually met Mr. Kennedy when I was younger at it was a Best Buy signing. I believe it was right before Royal Rumble 2009 when it was in Detroit.
Okay.
And my parents, we were like, we're not waiting in line, so we sat behind Best Buy and waited for him to come out.
That way.
And I ended up falling asleep in the car. And I remember getting woken up and taking a picture with him.
This is why you want. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
Get up.
Yeah, I have that picture somewhere. If I can find it, I'll send it and show y'all.
We'll see if we can get that right.
Yeah.
My last question for you before I tag Spook in. We've got SummerSlam coming up. I mean, right here in our backyard. Yeah. What are some matches that you would like to see at this year's SummerSlam?
Oh man,
or not even matches, but maybe appearances.
Cena. I need Cena there.
Okay.
I only got to see Cena one time in my career. You don't like Cena? Come on.
The Peanut Gallery Spook's over there waiting to get tagged in, saying, no, boo, Cena. We know he likes his villains.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Orton. I mean, that would be cool.
Thumbs up. From
yeah, I got the dub over there. So I think growing up, Orton was one of my favorites and stuff, and so was Cena. So seeing some of those old guys come back, maybe for a couple more matches and stuff, would be cool.
I would dig it. I'm gonna throw one out there that maybe people wouldn't like, but I watched him pre-wrestling days. Is The Miz.
I love The Miz.
I think he's a great performer. Obviously, great on the mic.
Stellar. He's a guy you can count on.
100%.
He is.
He's been there. He hasn't switched up, and I don't know. I just appreciate it. Going back to his Road Rules days back on MTV.
Yeah.
It was cool to see him make the switch because I feel like he's always wanted to be that professional wrestler.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure meeting you, man.
Pleasure meeting
I
you
can
too,
see
man.
Spooky over there itching to tag in and talk wrestling. So without further ado, Spook, you're in.
Okay, so you guys talked about the Money in the Bank. I think it was awesome. Personally, I think that's what really set off CM Punk.
Yeah.
To his rise to superstardom.
Getting that belt on him. Kind
exactly.
of solidified him as a good guy, like a primetime player, I should say. Yeah.
Absolutely. And people really didn't expect CM Punk to win that match either.
I originally heard Jeff was supposed to win.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff. It was supposed to be finally Jeff's time. Yeah.
Right. Personally, I would have liked to see John Morrison win it. I've always been a fan of him.
That's the thing. I think that him and another guy in that match that I think could have won and it could have been huge for him is Benjamin.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Benjamin, they never put Shelton over how they should have.
No, and they were both, John and Benjamin, insane in the ring. Stellar guys to have and stuff. And, Benjamin, I mean, I remember Morrison always getting those comparisons to Shawn and stuff, and it never worked out. I mean, when he left and he started doing the independents, whether it was an Impact or Ring of Honor or stuff, he did all right.
Well, I think because there's no one really to compare yourself to. You almost stand out because you're doing all of the stuff that he's able to do.
I agree.
People on the indies really weren't doing stuff like that,
No,
not
and
to take away from him, but it's like
he's so good.
He really shined when he left WWE.
He's so good.
Yeah, look at me now.
And I think that style, his style, fit more the independents. Being a star on the independents rather being a star in WWE.
So we'll go a little further now throughout the night. Let's talk about the Dead Man and Edge. When I look back too, I didn't really appreciate Edge as much as I do now, and then I look back and I was like, well, maybe I did.
Yeah,
because I really did like him in the Brood. I liked him in the Ministry, and then of course the Rated R Superstar comes out. And he's terrorizing through everybody. I mean, he was just hated, Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the fans were spitting on this guy.
100%.
When he was coming out.
I remember, because like I said earlier at the beginning, I had cousins that grew up watching, and I remember when I first started getting into it, they told me the whole Matt Hardy Lita situation. Yeah. So I hated him. Hated him. Being a Hardy fan, hated him. So I knew how good he was. I knew that he was like, okay, like Edge is one of those guys that could actually like, he can ultimate opportunist. Yeah, he can somehow figure out a way to beat the Undertaker.
Dude, what I liked about that match though too is there was no real stipulation. There's no Hell in the Cell. There's no heart.
Just a one-on-one.
Literally just went one-on-one.
It was a one-on-one.
Great match. Too.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was perfect. And I think that even though in the past there had been bigger stars such as Triple H or Mark Henry, Batista, another one.
Oh yeah,
guys that actually are like, Randy Orton, another one that are actually like, this guy could beat Taker,
right?
I think Edge did a great job of making him seem like one of those guys. And I also heard that Vince came to him and asked him.
He did.
If he wanted to.
And Edge told him no.
No.
So that put Undertaker 16-0 at WrestleMania.
And that main event, it was the main event of that night, wasn't it?
It was the main event.
Yeah.
So, and you got to think Kane demolished
Chavo. They had
ECW?
that. Yeah.
That match should just be erased. I mean, that was like 9 seconds.
That's the thing, though. I remember being like, okay, I watched ECW for 3 guys at the time. Punk, Miz and Morrison. That was the reason I was watching ECW.
Right.
And then when Kane became champ, I was like, ooh, this is cool. Yeah. Like now you have this just like dark horse, scary dude with a world title on now. Right. Even though if you want to act like the ECW title was a world title. Nah. They only built it up that one time when Taker had won Rumble and Bobby Lashley was champ. That's the only time they really built up the world title. The ECW title.
Me personally, man, I mean, I didn't grow up watching ECW, but I knew what ECW was.
Yeah,
I did watch a little bit here and there, but it wasn't like not until I was an adult where I actually went back, and thanks to the network too, I can watch all these.
And that's the thing. I used to see when ECW was the third brand, I would see all these old clips and be like,
I wonder what did you take away from it? Because me being older, I'm looking like, dang, this is kind of trash, to be honest, because I know what ECW was. But for someone like you that's just kind of getting into the wrestling world, what did you think about ECW?
Right now, terrible. If you had called it anything else, then ECW would have been a stellar wrestling show. But I think ECW, in my opinion, was the beginning of NXT.
I can agree with that too, because they were taking the more mysterious, dark guys. I remember, what's it, Kevin Thorne?
Yeah.
Vampire-ish guy? Yeah, him. Like Boogeyman, they had like Bobby Lashley, Kane, Big Show,
Kofi Kingston originally.
They had these big guys on ECW, and it was on the Sci-Fi Network, so they were trying to, brand that completely different.
It was supposed to be creepy. It was supposed to be Halloween-ish. It was supposed to be.
But I see
dark.
that with the indie scene almost. This is more of an indie show.
But yeah, you look at guys like Sheamus got their start there. Guys like Kofi Kingston got their start there. Guys like Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, a lot of guys got their start in ECW. So it kind of was like NXT before NXT, at least in my opinion. I think you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I with
see that too.
Even Punk.
But even me, wasn't Punk champion there? No.
Yeah, he was ECW champ. He beat Chavo, I believe, or Morrison, one of the two.
So, with that being said, though, I mean, and I'm in and out of wrestling at this time. WrestleMania 23 was in
Detroit.
And I was there.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh.
So now I'm like 16, 17 at this time. So I don't know. I think that was really the last. I kind of faded out because I was, 2008 I graduated. So I know 2008 to 2012, 13-ish, I was really in and out of wrestling. I wasn't as faithful as I was, being a kid. So I kind of fell out of things, but
everyone goes through that phase.
Going through the phase, you're here, you're there,
yeah,
in and out. But ECW for me, I was just like, man, I got into it at first because I was like, all right, this is cool, because they did bring back some of the originals,
like Dreamer and RVD, Sandman. Yeah,
they had all these guys coming in just to kind of give it an introduction.
Yeah.
But then it kind of shortly died after. That was just for me.
I agree.
But nonetheless, Edge as an opponent for The Undertaker, great opponent, great match.
They worked good.
Main event.
Yeah, and it was a great match. And I think that the finish of the match was perfect. I like the whole, you add in guys like Chavo, you add in guys like Zack Ryder and Hawkins, you add in Vicky Guerrero. It was like, oh, they might screw Taker. Taker might actually lose, Right. And it just worked.
So now we're moving on to Randy Orton, John Cena, and Triple H. These are three pioneers of the wrestling company from these phases on. Because even WrestleMania 24 they say is the last WrestleMania of the Ruthless Aggression era.
I could agree with that.
So they say that this is the last, technically, end of an era.
Yeah.
They're moving forward now. With John Cena returning at the Rumble previously.
Probably, at least in my opinion, second best return at Rumble ever. Number one has to be Edge.
Edge. I mean,
It has
I think
to
it's
be.
going down.
Yeah.
I have chills, literally, from you. Look at that. Like,
It
I don't
has
know if you guys
to be.
can see on camera. I
It
have
has
chills
to be.
because that pop for Edge, and then I go back and watch it, and you could see that man wanted to cry.
Yeah,
he came out
when
like,
he came in through that smoke and you can see his face.
Yeah, he came out in awe. Like can you imagine being there live?
Oh
and
my
hearing
God,
the roar when you think you know me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I was just at AEW a few weeks ago, and just that pop for Miro returning.
Oh yeah,
was crazy.
Right.
Or when I went in January last year, Danhausen's debut. Those pops.
That was a good debut though.
Yeah, those pops crazy.
Right.
I can't imagine the sound, or even like Hardy Boys returning at Mania a few years back, like something like that, just to hear it.
Right. Even when Jeff came back recently at AEW.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sure
I got to see him too at AEW, and fuck yeah,
yeah,
crazy.
AEW pops are going wild.
Oh yeah, because it's hardcore fans. It's people that care about pro wrestling rather than sports entertainment, and that's not a knock on WWE. I love WWE. In my opinion, will always be my number one. But AEW's fun.
They're wrestling over there at AEW.
Yeah,
but they are wrestling a little bit.
Recently,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Even the Royal Rumble this year, 2023, the women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's. A lot of the women's matches are better than the men's. I think that it's just too predictable.
The best girls match I have ever seen happen at Mania this year, and it was Rhea and Charlotte.
That was a good match.
I think that personally, that's at least for girls, that's number one.
Though. It was a little long.
I love Rhea though. I think Rhea's really good.
She's the best, hands down. You know, next to China. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna say
my mom will, if she watches this podcast, she will be so happy you said that because she loves China. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. to China. You know, and I say that too because even Dev and I will be arguing, but we also agree. Like, can she go for the Intercontinental title? Not with Gunther being there. You know, I know that she's not taking it from him.
Put the belt on Solo and then her and Solo. That'd be amazing,
dude. I can see Rhea being an Intercont champ.
She's badass.
Come on.
It works. I think Bianca could do that too.
The women's War Game matches.
Beautiful.
War Games was just crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
That was actually when you were asking about
Nikki
NXT.
Cross, I think it is. I don't mean to cut you out.
This
Nikki
past
Cross,
year?
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
Good. Yeah. But like I didn't watch NXT. I remember talking about this earlier, but I would always watch War Games.
Right.
Because I was just like, I remember seeing those and like the Monday Night War TV show on on the network.
WCW,
really,
yeah.
So that's pioneered that match.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing Undisputed Era, seeing guys like Dijak, seeing guys like Keith Lee, Riddle, all those guys, great matches.
So we kind of took away from the triple threat.
Yep.
I mean, I can go on for days, man. Yeah, but let's go back. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Randy Orton is one of my I'll say top 10. I want to say top 5, but top 10 wrestlers of all time.
I put him top 10 for me too.
I've loved Randy Orton since day one.
Yeah.
Literally. You know, like I've been a big fan of him. The Viper, Legend Killer, even in Evolution, Breaking Away. There was a time where it was him, Ted DiBiase Jr., and Cody Rhodes all were a little
Legacy.
The Legacy.
Yeah.
3 tag team man.
And that's the thing with
Randy Orton is just that guy.
Yeah, with another like Edge, like Punk, like Randy.
Mm-hmm.
They were so good at being assholes.
Right.
So good. To the fact that like I love to hate them.
I want to say at this time too, excuse me, Edge and Randy Orton were probably the most hated people.
Top two heels.
Top 2 heels.
Yeah, and then, I mean, even if we move on a little bit from 24 and go into 25, that build with him and Hunter for the WB Championship. I believe the main event, and the only part that sucks about that, it was a great match, but it was just so happens probably the best match of all time. Probably happened right before it with Taker and Shawn. So yeah, it burnt the crowd.
The crowd.
I mean, Orton kicking Vince in the head.
Yeah.
Kissing Stephanie in front of Triple H.
Right.
You know, like
handcuffed up.
Oh yeah. So like guy like Edge, Orton, those guys like so good at being bad that when they are finally good, you're like, fuck, these guys are cool.
So that's gonna wrap it up for us today here at Dudes Talking Wrestling. Siren, we appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
Dev, I appreciate you tagging me in. You guys be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Go ahead. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram. You can't miss us. We're going to be at all your local shows. Shout out to IWR. Shout out to Combat One. And at the end of the day, we're just a couple dudes talking wrestling.